Rims, which stands for root M's, have been on the rise in web design. Instead of being relative to its parent class or element like an M, rims are relative to the root M set to the HTML. As mentioned before, the common default font size for browsers is 16 pixels. So in this case, one rim will always equal 16 pixels instead of being relative to a parent class or element. In our example, let's use rims or root M's instead of M's. We know that 16 pixels is the browser default, so here 1.25 rim will be equal to 24 pixels. Then we can set our H1 at 3 rim, which will be equal to 48 pixels. Let's save and refresh. Our font sizes have changed based on their rim values. Even if we add a container value of 10 pixels, and we'll set this to be 1.25 rim for our paragraphs, we can refresh, and we see that these do not change because they're referencing the root element and not the parent element. This also corrects the problem of compounding M's and still provides the benefits of scalability for responsive design. It should be noted that Internet Explorer 8 does not support rims, so if IE8 support is required, then you would want to set a fallback in pixels. I've also provided some further reading and a link to tools that help size references with pixels to M's and rims. Lastly, sizing your headings, paragraphs, and other text elements may seem a little tricky, and it's not a great idea to just guess by shooting in the dark. This can lead to inconsistent heading and paragraph sizes. This is why following a typographic scale can help immensely. A scale gradually increases at a certain rate to ensure consistent proportions for your font sizes. The classic typographic scale increases in intervals of 1, 2, 3, and then 12. It's been used for centuries and is reliable to adhere to, especially if you're using 16 pixels as your base size. I liked our body copy at about 20 pixels, but that size is not in that typographic scale we just looked at. Don't fret. Let's take a look at typescale.com and build one out. This site is incredibly helpful because you can set your base size, test different scales, and even import Google Web Fonts to the site. So let's set ours up. We'll put 20 pixels here, and we see it's in reference to 1.25 M. We can set our scale. I like the major third for our example. And if we wanted to, we can even see what our typeface Allegoria looks like by writing it in here and then copying it and pasting it into this font family. And here it appears. So we're now presented with different M values to build our scale. We'll start with this base size at 1.25 M, so we'll want to set that for our body copy. So now we're given some sizes in M's, and this largest one will be our H1, the next largest is our H2, H3, and so forth. This 1M is what we want our paragraphs to be at. Now, in our design, I've already set these up down here as H1, H2, H3 with those corresponding sizes. I didn't go all the way to H6 because our design doesn't have all those heading numbers. We could also set the P element to be 1M if we'd like, but this is set by default in the browser. Remember, these are relative to our body font size of 1.25 M. So let's go check out what the scale looks like. Great. Our typographic scale looks good, and it's intact. And if we were to change our body font size here, let's say to 1M, our whole scale changes with it, which is very nice, and it's great for responsive design. But I really want this to be 1.25 M, so I'll move it back to that. Now that that's set up, we still have a little ways to go, but getting a proper body size and scale is a great place to start. To summarize this lesson, we saw that pixels give the designer much control over the design, but lack easy scalability and accessibility. M's are easily scalable, but can be confusing at first and have issues with compounding font sizes and nested elements. Rims are root M's that are growing increasingly in popular use because they bring the scalability of M's without the hassle of compounding font sizes. Once you've set your body text size, be sure to build the rest of the sizes based on a typographic scale. That's it for font sizing. Next, we'll look at measure and space.